Politics didn't always feel this personal. Disagreement didn't feel like rejection. Losing an argument didn't feel like losing your place in a community. Somewhere along the way, politics stopped being something we argued about and started being something we are. For many people, especially younger generations, politics isn't abstract. It touches identity, safety, opportunity, belonging. For people who feel historically marginalized, politics can feel like the difference between protection and vulnerability. That emotional investment is not irrational. It's human. If you experience politics this way, then disagreement doesn't feel like a debate. It feels personal, because it is. But personalization has a cost. When political beliefs become part of who we are, disagreement stops being about ideas and starts being about identity. Once identity is involved, disagreement feels threatening. Because now, to question an idea feels like questioning a person's worth. That's a heavy burden to place on politics. And it changes how we treat each other. When politics becomes personal, it also becomes a sorting mechanism. People aren't just right or wrong. They're good or bad, safe or unsafe, in group or out group. This isn't new in human history. But what is new is how efficiently we do it now. Social media didn't invent moral sorting, but it industrialized it. Platforms reward content that triggers emotion, especially anger, especially fear, especially moral outrage. Nuance doesn't spread, calm disagreement doesn't go viral. But moral certainty does. Over time, this trains us. It teaches us which emotions get rewarded, and which get ignored. When your social approval depends on political alignment, beliefs stop being provisional. They become fixed. Changing your mind now comes with social risk. You don't just revise an opinion. You risk losing status, or belonging. That's a powerful deterrent, and it hardens identities on all sides. From a conservative perspective, this raises a red flag. Not because emotions are bad, but because systems that amplify emotion tend to destabilize societies. Conservatism tends to worry less about individual intent, and more about the structures that reward certain behaviors. When outrage is profitable, outrage multiplies. Even among people who believe they're acting responsibly. When politics becomes identity, compromise feels like betrayal. Losing feels humiliating, and winning feels morally justified, no matter the cost. This creates an escalation trap. Each side feels increasingly threatened. Each side feels increasingly justified. At that point, the rules start to feel optional. Because the stakes feel existential. Societies don't collapse just because of bad policies. They collapse when people stop believing the system is legitimate. Legitimacy depends on something fragile. The belief that disagreement is allowed, and that losing today doesn't mean losing forever. When politics becomes personal, losing feels permanent. And permanent loss invites desperate behavior. Restraint isn't exciting. It doesn't trend, but it's what keeps conflict from spiraling. When restraint disappears, everything becomes justified. Language hardens, norms erode, trust collapses. Taking politics seriously doesn't require making it personal. You can care deeply without merging identity and ideology. Distance doesn't mean indifference. It means leaving room for correction. It means allowing yourself, and others, the dignity of being wrong. Healthy disagreement requires a shared understanding that no side has a monopoly on virtue, and no group is immune to error. It requires humility, not as weakness, but as a stabilizing force. When politics becomes identity, disagreement becomes dangerous. And when disagreement becomes dangerous, democracy becomes brittle. The goal isn't to care less. It's to care wisely. In the next episode, we'll talk about why good intentions aren't enough, and why outcomes matter more than motives. This is the Honest Heretic. Let's slow this down, before we can't.